Okay, true story. Uh, it concerns a tornado that occurred in Snyder, Oklahoma in the early 1900s. I think it was 1905. My grandfather, his name was, now I forgot, just because I'm in front of the camera. Poe type. My paternal, maternal grandfather was Poe type. Okay, got that straight. So they lived between Snyder and Indiahoma in one of the first houses that the government built for Comanches. And so once a week, they would make a trip by wagon, big old wagon and a team of horses. They would make a trip to Snyder to buy groceries. So it was time for grandfather to go to Snyder. So he left the house, he left my great-grandmother, Wisapui. He left them at home, and so he's on the wagon by himself, headed towards Snyder. So he sees the dark clouds in the sky, and it was like tornado weather, but he had to go get groceries. It wasn't storming where they lived. And so he's headed towards Snyder, and so in front of him, he sees the cone drop. And so he's almost there, so he went ahead and continued. Well, he gets to Snyder, and everything is tore up. The buildings are tore up, the stores, people are crying and running around the streets and looking for their folks, you know, because it's been bad weather and everybody's scattered. And so he goes to this grocery store that he normally goes to and to get groceries or whatever they need. And so he pulls up there and halts his horses, and he gets off the wagon, and he finds out that their little girl, she was a little blonde-headed girl, that they couldn't find. So everybody's crying around and looking for her, calling for her. And my grandfather, he decides that he's going to go help look. And so he's looking outside the city, so he gets in the wagon and he heads that direction, whichever north is. Is that north? Okay, north. He heads north. And so he gets out of town, and the area is kind of like this, rocky and red granite. And so he's headed out of town, and there are few trees in that area. And so he gets about 2 or 3 miles out of town, and he hears this little girl crying. And he follows the cry, and he gets up close, and he's looking around for the little girl on the ground, and she's crying up there in a tree, one of the very few trees. And so he stops his horses and looks at her, and he walks toward her, and she's afraid of him because he's an Indian, you know. And so he starts singing to her, and he walks toward her, and he asks her to come down. And so she finally, he climbs up a little bit up the tree and gets her and brings her down and puts her in the wagon. Well, what happened in town was they were looking for the little girl, so they give him a doll because he's a looker. So he takes that doll out from underneath the front seat where he's sitting, and he gives the doll to her, and she calms down. And so then he puts her over here, and they head on back down to town. And when he gets to town, the people are so glad that she's found, and all the attention is placed on her. But the store leader, the store owner, he tells him that he spoke Comanche. He tells him, you can come back anytime and get groceries if you want, because that was his baby daughter.
Was that harsh? No,
Yeah,
harsh.
the
Okay.
truth.
Yeah, right.
That was store owner's baby daughter. So he tells my grandpa that he can come back anytime and get groceries. And so they load him up with groceries and he heads on back.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Y'all heard that story? My kids?
Yeah, you've heard it.
Yeah.
And I looked it up, and there is actually a tornado that happened that destroyed in Snyder, and a little girl is found, but it wasn't found by an Indian.
No, that wasn't.
They didn't give my grandfather credit for finding the little girl.
At least not in the newspaper ad.
Right.
It wasn't.
And their mascot is actually cyclones.
Yeah.
Yeah.